Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. These are the best new editions of board games hitting retail in March 2024. I started doing this new editions video not that long ago because there's just so many new editions coming out these days. It's a real trend in the board game hobby and the board game industry. We are re-releasing games from 10, 20, 30 years ago because, one, the board game hobby is, getting pretty old now. It's really been going for a while. And two, we're just taking art and production value and things like that more seriously in board games now. So there's a lot of reintroducing older games but with nicer art and nicer quality to them. I include three different types of games in this new editions video. I include just straight hey, this is a re-release of an old game. I include reimplementations of older games. Sometimes that means hey, we've changed the name, we've changed the theme, but it's the same game mechanically as a game that existed previously. And I also include games that are in an established series. So, hey, there's already been a bunch of these games, and this is a new version in that sort of line. So, yeah, I hope you find something here you're excited about. First off, in March, Avalon Hill is releasing Betrayal Deck of Lost Souls. I struggled a little bit where to put this game. Is this a new edition game? Is this should I have put this in the new release video, not the new editions video? Because it is set in the world of Betrayal at House on the Hill. Very popular game, sort of horror-themed exploration. And so it is in that line of games, but this is a standalone game. You don't have to have played Betrayal. You don't even have to like Betrayal to enjoy this game. This is a much smaller box game. It is a card game. There are basically a bunch of tarot cards in the game, and each player gets a secret role, and most of the people in the game are working together to defeat omens and curses, but there could be one traitor amongst you that is trying to get everybody else to lose. And so each of the omens and curses requires, different items and things like that to defeat it. So most of you are playing sort of on the thing to defeat the card, but then one of you might not be helping everybody else. So, that kind of, I guess, thematically connects to Betrayal at House on the Hill, because in that game, you're sort of all working together until about halfway through the game. Then one of you isn't. One of you switches and is kind of working against the team. And so, it's thematically connected. It's in the same world as Betrayal, but it is a standalone small box game. Plays 3 to 5 players in about 20 to 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game. City of Games is releasing Vadoran Gardens Refreshed. This is a new edition of their game, Vadoran Gardens. Vadoran Gardens is another small box game, and this new version is the same gameplay as the original one, but this now includes a solo mode. So if you always wanted to play this game but didn't want to play it with other people, now you got your wish. You can play it by yourself. Vadoran Gardens is a competitive tile placement card game that has a puzzly experience. You will be drafting cards in a row, and it does the thing that a decent amount of games do where there's sort of 9 things on each card, and when you place a new card, you have to cover up at least one of those squares. You have to get rid of something to place a new card, and there is restrictions on, you can only have 5 rows in your puzzle placement area, and so once you fill up that, you got to go the other way. And so if you like little puzzly card games, this one might be for you. Plays 1 to 4 players in 20 to 40 minutes. And it is a medium weight game, but on the lighter end of that medium weight range. Days of Wonder is releasing Ticket to Ride Paris. So Days of Wonder has been doing this thing with the Ticket to Ride line where, that's a game that has gotten a lot of people into board games over the years. Ticket to Ride is one of the probably premier gateway games out there. It is a route building game. You are getting cards, putting trains down, and trying to connect certain cities. Well, Days of Wonder has been doing this city line where it's focused on one city. Instead of like the USA map, it is just on Paris or it is just on San Francisco. And part of the idea of those, it's a much smaller box game. So it's not a tiny box game, but it's a smaller box game, so it's a cheaper price point. And it also plays a lot quicker. These sort of city versions of Ticket to Ride play in 15 to 20 minutes. Plays 2 to 4 players, and it's going to do the same thing that Ticket to Ride does, where you are putting trains down, building routes, connecting things. Each of these sort of city line games in Ticket to Ride kind of adds some small thing that's new and unique for them. So in this one, when you claim a blue, white, or red route, you keep a transportation card of this color in front of you instead of discarding the cards. And when you collect a card of each of those colors, you've made a French flag, and now you get bonus points. So, vive la France, you know what I mean? So that's the sort of new, unique aspect of this Ticket to Ride Paris. Devere Games is releasing new editions of a couple of their small box card games. One is Flash 10. This is a sort of real-time game, but I've played it with some people before, and a lot of people don't like real-time games, but this one is so quick and silly that it works for real-time. There's a big jumble of cards in the table, and you are trying to get 10 cards in ascending order in front of you. And everybody's just sort of grabbing cards from the middle, putting them on top of their cards over here, and we're all doing it at the same time. And a round of it takes like 2 minutes, where you're just kind of frantically trying to get things in ascending order. And then you're scoring points. And then, the game says play to 30 points or play to 40 points. It's kind of up to you how long of a game you want overall. But, you definitely scores in this game. Like, there are rounds where you're like, I've got 2 points this round. I couldn't get anything in order. This one thing breaks up. I got all of these in order, and then that one stupid card broke it up, and now none of that counts. And so it's just, it's a very silly sort of high energy, quick playing card game jumble. So I've enjoyed playing Flash 10. That's one that would work for kids and families and stuff very well as well. Plays 2 to 5 players, and it is a lightweight game. The other game that Devere is releasing is Autumn. This plays 1 to 3 players. Oh, interesting. I would have assumed that it was a 2-player game. Maybe the new version is 2-player, because when you look on BGG, sometimes they, still have the older version up there and stuff. But I believe it's more of a 2-player game now. This new version plays in like 10 to 20 minutes. And it is a puzzly card game where there are 2 types of leaves on cards, and when you're placing them down, you are covering up things and putting them out, and you are trying to create the largest area of your leaves. You each play as one of the 2 types of leaves on the cards, and you're just trying to create the biggest area by the end of the game. So, puzzly, how are you gonna screw someone over with your placement and help yourself with your placement? Very lightweight game for sure, and small box card game. So if you want like pocket games or stuff like that, Devere's been releasing good pocket games recently. So both Flash 10 and Autumn are just little card games that can for sure fit into a purse or a pocket or something like that. Greater Than Games, in association with Flat River Group, is releasing a new version of Get Bit. There has been a number of versions of Get Bit. This version, it's the same mechanisms where there's a shark coming after swimmers and you are losing limbs to the shark. That's why it's called Get Bit. And you are trying to move yourself into the front of the line so you are not in last in line getting bit by the shark. One of the things that this changes, though, is it changes the theme. Yes, it is still a shark chasing divers, but they've made it more family friendly in the sense that now this is a rubber shark in a bathtub. You have little scuba diver toys, and so it's not like, we're not playing Jaws, we're just playing like a sort of a bubble time plastic shark sort of thing. And so, yeah, that makes it more family friendly for sure. Plays 3 to 6 players in 20 minutes, and it is a lightweight game. The production value of this is really cool, too. I mean, you literally have little scuba diver action figures, and when they get bit, they lose a limb. You can pull off a leg. You can pull off an arm. You know, it's just cool that you can do that sort of stuff. The way mechanically the way the game works is everybody is going to put a card down simultaneously and reveal that card, and the person with the highest card is going to move, to the front of the line and get out of the way of the shark. But if 2 players play the same card, they don't move. So you're looking around, what are you going to play? All that sort of stuff. So you're trying to not play the same thing that other people play. So, just kind of a push your luck, bluffing, bidding, and cool production value for sure, and a more cutesy theme than in the past. Flat River Group, in association with Ludi Creations, is releasing On the Underground, Paris, New York. So On the Underground, there have been a few versions of On the Underground in the past. There's been a London version, Berlin, Paris. London, Berlin. Now this is Paris, New York. And so this is a medium weight game, 2 to 5 players, plays in about an hour. And this is a route building game, sort of a Ticket to Ride, but more advanced than that, right? You are going to be building routes along the board, and the different maps are going to play differently. That's what this sort of adds to the game. You are trying to get the laziest commuter to move along your routes. The lazy commuter never wants to walk. They want to take the shortest distance between everything. So how can you put out routes to get them to ride your routes instead of somebody else's routes? And so, talking about these 2 new maps here, in the Paris map, they call it a thoughtful map offering many options. You need to strike the right balance between collecting sets of tokens, connecting secret destinations, blocking other players while not being blocked yourself, and of course carrying the passenger. Paris is the refined elder sister of the original London map and is recommended for experienced players only, whereas New York is a much more fast-paced map. It encourages players to mirror real life by creating lines through Manhattan, but you have to build quickly to keep up with the always moving passenger. The passenger moves 2 spots instead of 1 in the New York map, and so it's just it's moving quicker for sure. So if you like route building games, then check out On the Underground, and you have a couple new maps to work with in Paris and New York. Hachette and Scorpion Masqué are releasing Flashback Lucy. This is a standalone independent game. This is one of those games that's sort of in an established series of games. The Flashback system is pretty cool and unique. It is a family weight sort of deduction mystery solving game. And the way the Flashback system works is you'll see a scene on a card, and then you can sort of jump around and look at different perspectives, Oh, this person's looking out the window. And they see a person down there. Well, I can jump down to that person's perspective and see them looking back up at the window, and I can get different pieces of information sort of jumping around between the perspectives in the scene. And so, I don't know, it's a really cool, unique system. Plays 1 to 4 players in about 30 minutes, and it is a lighter weight game, and it's 7+, so it is family friendly. They had one version of this game that was Flashback Zombie Kids, which were like kids fighting zombies and trying to escape. Well, this one, Lucy, is a girl with the power to see the future and have visions and things like that. And so you are traveling into the past through Lucy's visions, and you're trying to meet the shadow that haunts this mansion, and you're trying to figure out what happened at this mansion, and through the different points of view and perspectives. And you're going to be collecting clues and solving mysteries and answering questions you've been asked. It's just a cool system for sure. And if you like sort of light haunting stuff, then Flashback Lucy is a good place to jump into the series. Hachette and Gigamic are releasing Qawale Mini. Gigamic does this line of abstract wooden piece games. They're very beautiful, they're very abstract, they're almost always two players. This one, Qawale, is one where you're sort of using a Mancala mechanism to drop stones off. You're picking up a stack of stones and then dropping them at different points and trying to create a connect four of your own colored stones. And so, it kind of seems like those cairns that you see when you're on hikes and things like that, the stacks of rocks. And you're just abstract, moving them around, sort of. All these games are kind of like a checkers or a chess feel, but lighter, easier to get into. A lot of them play like 15, 20 minutes. They play very quickly, and they can work for, as young as 8, 10-year-olds, something like that. Qawale Mini, a lot of the games in this sort of wooden piece line are pretty big box games. I mean, that's one of the reasons they look so gorgeous, but they're not that easy to travel with. Qawale Mini, as it sounds like, is a smaller version of Qawale. This is a much more compact version, so if you want to bring this on an airplane with you to take it introduced to somewhere else, you can do that. I mean, it's not tiny, but it is a lot smaller than the original version. So same gameplay, same nice components, just shrunken down for Qawale Mini. Phase Shift Games is releasing Drop Drive Deeper Space Edition. So Drop Drive came out not that long ago, and it was an interesting game, a unique game where there was a sort of a little half globe on the table, and then you were dropping a bunch of components onto the globe, and it was spreading them all over the table. As they, no two game was the same, because as they hit this and bounce off, everything's going to bounce in different directions, and then you're moving your spaceship around, collecting gems, turning those gems in, selling them for points, and then the market was going to shift and all that sort of stuff. But, all about that dropping, and you never know where things are going to go. And so this Deeper Space Edition includes the core game. It also includes the Strange Signals expansion. It includes a 5th player pack. It includes upgraded components, and it includes luxury links. It's essentially like a deluxe edition of the game. So if you've been curious about Drop Drive, but you wanted it to be more fancy, if you want fancy stuff in your game, if you want to play a 5th player, you want more, more fancy components, then this Deeper Space Edition is for you. As I mentioned, this plays a 5th player, so it's 2 to 5 players. Plays in 45 to 60 minutes, and it is sort of a lighter, medium weight game where you are moving around this galaxy, gathering stuff, and selling it for points. Renegade Game Studios, in association with Garphill Games, is releasing Shipwrights of the North Sea Redux. So Garphill is well known for having trilogies of games. There was the West Kingdom trilogy with Architects of the West Kingdom, Paladins of the West Kingdom. Their first trilogy was the North Sea trilogy, and there were as a trilogy sounds, there were 3 games of it: Raiders of the North Sea, Shipwrights of the North Sea, and I can't think of what the third one was called right now. But Shipwrights of the North Sea was the one that maybe people liked the least, and so they have sort of stripped out the gameplay and rebuilt the game from the ground up. So this shares a lot of the same thematic elements as the original Shipwrights of the North Sea. It includes the similar art and all that sort of stuff, but the core gameplay is sort of fixed, if you will. It's been rebuilt to create an experience much more in line with what fans of Garphill Games have come to expect. And so if you always, if you didn't like the original Shipwrights, then this is an opportunity to sort of give it a new chance, if you will. Plays 1 to 5 players in 60 to 80 minutes, and it is a solidly medium weight game. Of all of Garphill Games' games, this one is one of the more accessible, plays quicker than any of their other games. You will be drafting cards and then, using meeples, doing some worker placement, building some cards with resources, managing your resources to build cards, and doing all that sort of stuff. I really like Garphill Games' games. They do interesting things in the world of worker placement and have found ways to make games feel unique. And so, this is a cool opportunity to give Shipwrights a new chance here and to try this sort of rebuilt core gameplay. Rio Grande Games is releasing a new edition of Chicago and Northwestern. Rio Grande Games does a lot of different train games. They're fairly well known for a long history of train games, and this is a new edition of the probably 10-year-old game Chicago and Northwestern. So a lot of their train games, there's no luck. It's really like an economic battle between players where you are building railroads and lines, and you're investing in different railroads and building tracks and all that sort of stuff. Chicago and Northwestern plays 3 to 5 players in about an hour, and you want the most cash at the end. So hey, that's fun. Everybody likes cash. Rio Grande Games is also releasing the second edition of Dominion, Cornucopia, and Guilds. So this takes the old expansions of Dominion, Cornucopia, and Guilds, puts them into one box, so now they're in the same place. Dominion, if you don't know, is sort of like the granddaddy of all deck building games. It's the game that really popularized deck building, and it is sort of a pure deck builder where there's a market and you are buying cards and making your deck stronger. This second edition of Cornucopia and Guilds replaces some of the cards, updates some of the cards, streamlines some of the cards, and updates some of the prizes from the first edition. So if you were always frustrated by some of the cards in the first edition, here you go. That's why they're doing a new edition of it. That's for you. This is for you. If you were frustrated by some of the cards, they were like, look, we made this. You should get it because we're going to fix it for you. They are also adding 26 new Kingdom cards to Dominion with this. Steamforge Games is releasing a new edition of Medici. Medici is one of the best auction bidding games out there from the famous designer Reiner Knizia, and it's a fairly old game at this point, but it's a game that plays 2 to 6 players, and I particularly like it at the higher player count. Medici. It plays really well at a higher player count, and it is a fun auction game. I like auction games. This is one of the best ones out there. This keeps exactly the same gameplay as the original Medici, but now has new art, new graphic design, new look. Just basically makes it look way more attractive than it used to look. I would say older versions of Medici were not a looker. They didn't like make you excited to see it on the table. But this one looks a lot more gorgeous, a lot more vibrant, and they also add things like character art into the game. So there wasn't character art before, so now you can choose which 16th century trader you'd like to embody by having some different character art in the game. So again, same exact gameplay, same mechanisms, but just a much fancier and nicer look to the game. If you like auction games, I definitely recommend Medici. Trick or Treat Studios is releasing Universal Monsters Unchained. This is actually a reimplementation of the game Nightfall. It plays 2 to 4 players in 30 to 60 minutes, and it is a medium weight game. So it is reimplementing Nightfall, but with some changes to the game. Instead of preset starter decks like they had in Nightfall, now there's an asymmetric starting draft. So it gets you right into the action by you are drafting your deck from the beginning, and so everybody's going to have a different starting deck, and your starting deck is going to be different between different games because you are drafting your starting deck, and it just gets you into the action right away. They have streamlined card costs and abilities for a broader audience here. There is a new 3x3 purchasing grid system. There are tokens to track card offense and defense, and a shield that can be activated to negate the player's next fatigue card. This is a deck building game. Unchained is a deck building game, and as the name sort of Universal Monsters suggests, this includes a lot of the old classic movie monsters in the game. But one of the things, is that's cool is you can chain cards together. If they have the same symbols, if they have the same iconography, you can chain them together and create powerful combos. That's why it's called Unchained. And so, yeah, I love card combos in games when you're like, oh man, when you feel like you have an epic turn because you're like, boom, 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 boom. That's just one of the most satisfying feelings in all of games. And Unchained definitely tries to harness that and put that into the game. So if you like deck building stuff, if you like card combo stuff, then Unchained might be for you. So that's what I got. Those are 15 new additions hitting retail in March 2024. I hope you're excited about some of those. I know I am. I already have the new Medici. I tried to get it to the table last night and it didn't work. So I'm excited to try to play it here soon. But yeah, if you want to support this series, I do the best new games hitting retail every month. I do the best expansions hitting retail every month and the best new additions hitting retail every month. And you're welcome to check out my Patreon, patreon.com/GrantsGameRex. Thanks so much for being here. I appreciate you liking, subscribing, sharing, all that great stuff. Happy gaming out there. Hope you're enjoying what you're getting to the table.